One night in 1918, Paris went dark. The streets fell silent. Windows disappeared into blackness, and the city's famous lights were switched off one by one, somewhere above the clouds. The enemy was looking for it. German bombers were approaching the French capital, searching for familiar signs in the night. But in those years, pilots did not have radar. They had no GPS, no modern navigation screens, no precise digital maps. They had their eyes, a river shining below, a railway line cutting through the dark, the glow of a station, the flicker of factories at night. That was how a city could be found from the sky. And that gave the French a strange idea. If the enemy could find Paris by following its lights, then maybe those eyes could be led somewhere else. The real Paris would disappear into darkness, and miles away, another Paris would begin to glow. Not a real city, not a place with people, streets, and life, but a carefully designed illusion, a city built for one purpose, to be mistaken for Paris. And so one of the strangest defensive plans of the First World War began. To save Paris, France would try to create a fake one. The idea first appeared in 1917, as German air raids became a growing threat to the capital. By early 1918, the plan was no longer just a theory. French military planners understood that turning off Paris was only half the solution. Darkness could hide the city, but deception could pull the enemy away from it. For that, they needed someone who understood light. One of the key figures was Fernand Jacopozzi, an Italian-born electrical engineer. Later, he would become famous for illuminating Paris at night, and for his work connected to the Eiffel Tower. But during the war, his task was very different. He was not asked to make Paris beautiful. He was asked to make a lie look believable. Jacopozzi and his team were not simply placing lamps in a field. They were designing a scene that had to fool a pilot. In seconds, the fake city did not need to survive close inspection. It only had to work from above at night during a quick, uncertain glance. Every detail had to suggest something familiar. A station, a factory, a railway line, a moving train. This was not really about building a city. It was about planting the image of one in a pilot's mind. The project was planned around 3 main zones near Paris. The first zone was northeast of the capital, around Gonesse and Villepinte. There, the French planned to create the appearance of a false Saint-Denis. Railway lines, factory lights, industrial shapes, all arranged to look like a real target from the air. The second zone was planned near Maison Lafitte, Herblay, and Conflans-Saint-Honorine. That area was not chosen randomly. The bend of the Seine River there resembled the curve of the Seine through Paris. When seen from above, the French were not just looking for empty land. They were looking for a landscape that could become believable. The third zone was planned farther east, around Chelles. There, the night appearance of industrial districts and factories would be imitated. The real genius of the plan was in the small details. Fake stations would be suggested with light. Fake roads would be drawn across the darkness. Lamps would imitate factory windows. Even the night shapes of major Paris stations like Gare du Nord and Gare de l'Est were meant to be copied. Jacopozzi planned to use different colored lights, white lights, yellow lights, red lights. Together, they would suggest locomotives, trains, stations, and industrial buildings. Some lamps would remain steady. Others would blink in sequence, creating the illusion of movement. From the air, a pilot was not supposed to see lamps. He was supposed to see a city breathing in the dark. The whole plan rested on one simple truth. A bomber pilot flying at night does not see everything. He looks for clues, the line of a river, the glow of a station, the lights of factories, the direction of a railway. If those clues appeared in the wrong place, then the wrong place could become the target. By 1918, Paris was under real pressure from German air attacks. The Gotha bombers in particular had become a serious threat. At night, the capital tried to vanish. Lights were switched off, windows were covered. The city hid itself under darkness, but the French wanted more than hiding. They wanted to give the enemy something else to believe in, near l'Homme de Morlu. Parts of the project were actually prepared, wooden structures with fabric coverings, electric lamps, all used to create shapes that might look convincing from the sky. But the full plan was never completed. In November 1918, the war ended. The armistice was signed, and fake Paris remained a project. History never fully tested. We will never know for certain whether German pilots would have mistaken it for the real city, but the idea itself was extraordinary. Protect one city by creating the image of another. Fake Paris did not change the course of the war, but it became an early example of a tactic that would grow much larger in later conflicts: visual deception. During the Second World War, fake factories, false lights, dummy structures, and decoy cities would be used on a far greater scale, but Paris had already tested the idea. If the enemy finds you with his eyes, then deceive his eyes. Fake Paris had no real streets, no real people, no real life. But from the night sky, it was meant to look alive. Its purpose was not to become a city. Its purpose was to protect one. Paris was real. Fake Paris was a lie. But behind that lie stood a very real question. Can one city be saved by creating the shadow of another?